Good morning, good evening, good night. NFT Live, Web3 Network. You know where you are. Thursday episode, last episode of the week here. I'm sitting with Biggie Poppins, Gift Dead. We're going to be covering a lot of things. A lot of things are happening in the Web3 space this week to end the I guess the end of the week is happening. So a lot of things happening. So what's going on, fellas? Biggie Poppins, what's going on, brother?
Nothing, not much. I finally bridged to base this morning
On chain summon?
and had to play the DK game. I
Based.
knew I knew I
Based as
would.
fuck.
I'm not as early as GIF though, that's for sure.
Biggie, what bridge did you use for bridging over to base? I'd love to get that out
Oh
to the
man,
community.
oof. Let me get that to you because I got it from the community, from one of my communities. Um, yeah, I'll get that to you in a bit.
Okay.
Let me just
Yes.
go dive in.
Hey, great
I-
GM Web3 morning show this morning, hosted by Gift at Biggie, was showing up, giving his 2 cents. Kane Mayfield, want to give you a shout out as well, dropping all the baby alpha, but also all the PayPal alpha as well. What's up, Gift?
Yeah, I just used the on-chain summer bridge, whatever, on their website. And I also, shout out K Mayfield. I want to pull this up. He DM'd me. Apparently he got a new house. He's moving. He's got a new kid. I mean, the guy is killing it. Apparently he killed it with the bitmaps too on Bitcoin. This is what his office looks like right now. This is why he can't join us here on NFT Live.
He
He's
actually sent you this. Got it.
He's clearly moving. Oh yeah, he wasn't joking. He's given me a hard look inside the personal life of what it looks like when Kane Mayfield is moving. So that's why Kane is not here with us right now. But he did join us on GM Web3 for a minute, which was awesome. So anyway, great to hear from him. Shout out to him and all the friends who joined us over there. It was an awesome show. Of course, always a great show. Lots to cover. Obviously, DeGods, Utes. There's a lot to talk about there. I did mint the. I'm excited. You know, y'all to have a reason to check out Base because I did mint the day 2, which is I guess a Cosmo de Medici situation. So I can actually share that real quick too while we're talking about it. Because why not? Here it is. I don't know if you can hear the audio. It does have audio. It's a little video.
Yep, we got audio.
It's like awkward. Wait, yeah, it's kind of like that's annoying.
No, you're good.
It's kind of like awkwardly formatted there when I went full screen, but it's a square and yeah, it has a little dude running and he plants an Ethereum flag on top of the Federal Reserve. That's pretty cool. It's an open edition, 24 hours.
So apparently there's 2 additions to this as well. I don't know. I always go back to Squash Man. He's like my default whenever anybody drops any info and I have to reference it. But Squash was saying that there's actually 2 additions, one with a Bitcoin flag, one with an Ethereum flag. So there's some other alpha. I'm interested
Okay.
in that. What's up, Biggie?
He saved me, man. I only minted the Ethereum. If it wasn't for Squashman, shout out to Squashman, he who reads the fine print. I had to run back and get the Bitcoin one as well. Honestly, I'm a little more bullish on the Bitcoin one. I'm curious to see which one is minted most. Obviously, I think many people might miss the fact that it's 2 versions, but even then, it'll be very curious to see which one is priced higher, scarcer, and down the line more appreciated, right?
Yeah, I'll bring up this piece that they're talking about as well. So on-chain summer is what Coinbase is calling it, their rollout of their new protocol. This is one of the first ones that's getting me interested in bridging over, right? It's only been, again, like public mainnet for, I think, the last 2 days. But this is one of the first ones that's getting me interested in bridging. And I'll drop that link for those of y'all interested as well.
Bridged Q. You have not. You're still resisting.
I'm stingy.
You're still fighting.
Sir, I'm bridging today.
All right.
All right, so we got a ton of stuff to cover today, like Gifted was mentioning. Again, it feels like later in the week, these Thursday episodes get pretty heavy. It's like a Monday and Thursday are definitely the heavy news days. So I'm going to go through the dashboard real quick to kind of give you guys an update on what we're looking at today. Obviously, Polygon is losing a large project in Utes. DeGods Season 3 was announced overnight. I think it was like at 3:30 or 3 o'clock Eastern this morning is when Frank tweeted out the DeGods announcement. We got the Utes earlier in the day around that 6:33 time frame. So a lot to cover there. We also have, again, we're going to get into some on-chain summer stuff. Milady's is pumping. We'll have our reasonings for that here in a second. WorldCoin and ETH. So it looks like ETH is adding to its mind share again with Utes moving on over. But Parallel, Larva Labs being back, Made by Apes, PayPal, a lot of shit. You guys get the deal. We got a lot to cover. CSP, nice to see you. Squashman, Prodigy, thank you guys for showing up early. I'm going to get some retweets out if you're here afterwards. We appreciate you guys as well. If you're on Twitch, if you're on Twitter, if you're watching us here live on YouTube now, you guys are awesome as always. Last show of the week for NFT Live. Guys, before we get started here and we get off and running on the episode, any housekeeping things? I got a couple links to share as well.
One thing I did want to add regarding the DK mint, and this is not financial advice, but I was reading regarding like whether these things might have utility or bonuses, like for people that have multiples, and it's up in the air, but I think they are thinking about it. So in case you were thinking about getting a couple, might be worth it, you know. Maybe there's like a burn mechanism down the line or something else. I got a few just in case. Something I think needed to be said.
So let me read from this right now then, if we want to cover this right off the jump. It says New Era ETH. Again, this is in partnership with Cosimo De Medici as well as DK, the well-known artist there on Ethereum. In partnership with Cosimo, DK Motion releases his first ever open edition works as the inaugural art mint on Base. New Era is a celebration of the inevitable future where crypto will be currency and art will be digital. New Era ETH and New Era BTC together form the New Era set. Collect both works and complete the set during this 24-hour mint. And you can see there's about 22 hours and 30 minutes left on this one. So for those of y'all, like, I mean, we've been touching on this for like the last 2 weeks about those of y'all interested in on-chain summer or what Coinbase is doing. This is a solid first commemorative mint or first generative art mint on the platform. That's why we're covering it here today. So
I don't know if this is generative art per se, but yeah, cool collectible.
Cool animation, and it's definitely trying to communicate something, right? It's trying to tell us something, I think. It's trying to tell the world something. A particular someone, Fed, I think is his name.
Yes, what could it be saying?
Yeah.
I wonder.
All right, we're getting links out here. We're reposting the YouTube link. We're doing all that we need to do to get folks in here, but we are going to be here in just a moment getting into the news. This is the rehash that we've been getting into after the show as well. So we curate all the news for NFT Live, GM Web3, and we throw it into a big rehash. This was a pretty successful one here, GIF, that we were able to get out yesterday. It's about 12 to 13 tweets long. It gives you the links that you need to follow up on, as well as kind of some initial insight into what's happening. So you can see yesterday, obviously Wolf.game got acquired. We were waiting on DeGods. We got that O'Pepin Jack Butcher edition that was dropping. So that was just yesterday's, but we're doing this every single freaking day, man.
Yeah, it's like if you imagine just all the best things in life, like puppy dogs and, you know, butterfly kisses and like all the nice, amazing things that make life, your favorite snacks, bags of Skittles, all the things that you love. Imagine all those things just condensed into one easy to digest, awesome experience. It's just like a bag of joy over there. That's what the rehash is.
Like a bag of Skittles.
Just like a big old bag of Skittles. That's what the rehash is. We put it together on the X app, the Bird X, after these shows, because we spend all this time curating the news across GM Web3 and NFT Live anyway. So we're trying to make sure that we get that out to you in more awesome ways. So check that out. And also remember, it's important, Q and Biggie, that we say this. This is not financial advice. Just remember that.
No,
we have to say it. All of this information was found publicly on the internet. Opinions shared in this episode are solely of the Web3 team, and all the information is public domain. Please do your own research. Just, we say it all the time, DYOR, but like it's important that you take accountability and responsibility for your own bags, because we're not financial advisors. So, all right, we said it. We had to say it.
We are getting into the DeGods and Utes news right out the bat. I do want to hit on a couple quick hits as well, though. This guy is still burning assets. This wallet that has already burned like millions of dollars worth of ETH is now sending punks as well as Bored Apes to a burn address. No one knows what's actually happening here. People are saying a total burnt over 8 million. This comes from NFT stats. He's picking it up from others that are looking at the blockchain explorers here. But I have no idea what this is about. I don't think anybody does. There's some weird like ENS pieces here to this as well. Someone seems to be deranged.
Isn't it obvious what's going on here? Really? You guys can't see it? The man is pumping our bags for us. He's fighting the good fight for everybody else. He's producing scarcity, Q, not just of ETH, but of like digital assets. Thank you, sir. Please keep burning away.
Give any takes as you eat your banana there?
It's not a banana. How dare you misassess? I don't know. I can't think. I haven't had enough coffee. All right, let me just say that I ran out of coffee. I've been dealing with matcha the last couple of days. All right, we heard a conspiracy theory that this is some poor soul that's basically melting down and like having a manic, like maybe depressed, maybe suicidal,
or maybe a jealous girlfriend.
Yeah, or something like, and
what we've heard.
We don't know. Yeah, we've heard these conspiracies. I don't think any of us know exactly what's true, so I don't want to spend too much time speculating on it. If it is somebody that's basically going through a rough time and having like a manic situation and maybe feeling suicidal, I hope that they're okay. I hope that's not what this is. But yeah, to Biggie's point, I mean, what's the net effect of this? I mean, shit. Increased scarcity, reducing supply of some of the top collections in the space, and he's getting some headlines. He's getting a lot of attention. Whoever they are, they're getting attention for it for sure.
Yeah, I'm showing off this tweet that I'll link in the chat from Captain Timo, and saying that this wallet or this user is looking for spiritual enlightenment. In that case, like send it to somebody instead of just to a burn address, please. I mean, we'll give you our ETH address right now if you need to send it anywhere. But it would be nice to see that ETH in the hands of someone that needs it. But it's his ETH. He can do what he wants with it, I guess, if we were going to continue seeing some burnage happening. Speaking of burning, man, what's happening in Maui right now? I don't want to go too far off on a tangent.
Wow.
But prayers out to Maui, to Lahaina, and what's going on over there. Saigo was giving us an update in the DMs about what is going on with, I guess, like hurricane force winds mixed with dry, I guess a dry environment led to that town completely burning to the ground. So my God, that was wild.
Yeah.
Nothing on that. All right, I don't blame you guys.
No, I mean, what are you gonna say other than
I woke up to the news,
okay.
man.
yeah.
I'm just glad our friend Saigo's good.
He's an island away. I think. Hopefully his family is good as well. There. Quick update before we get to the DeGods as well. Threads, the very much hyped new social media from Instagram, from Facebook, I believe, that was going to rival Twitter, was going to rival the X app, has completely flatlined on interest over time. Now this isn't users again, like this isn't showing the full
Any
look.
theories as to why? Why do you think that is? I have mine.
Because it's fucking hard. It's hard to make a social media app.
Yeah, it's just the strategy to get people over. Like, he growth hacked the users by tying it directly to the Instagram accounts, which was smart, right? And so he was able to get adoption and kind of force adoption in a way through that. but that's not enough to keep people engaged in it, right? And there's not that, first of all, the app's not that deep right now. It's pretty basic. But also, like, my question is the why. Like, why does this need to exist other than your own personal vendetta and trying to capture more mind share? You know, we know that there's a literal brawl happening between Elon and Zuckerberg, but there's no reason for this app to exist, really. Like there's no added value to my life by having this app right now. So until they figure out the why, like it's just taking up space. There's no reason for me to spend more time on another social media app. The one reason that people like myself included would have gone over there doesn't even exist, and that's that there's an opportunity a lot of times when new social media comes out to be an early adopter and gain some advantages from being an early adopter. But it's basically just the same algorithm that Instagram has. So you basically come in at the same level where you are now in Instagram, and you're kind of stuck into that same level already. There's no benefit to being an early content creator and getting promoted, gaining a new following, being a new influencer. It's literally like Instagram 2.0. And so there's not even the opportunity of being, you know, early and contributing to growing that platform over there right now. So that's why it died as quickly. As a lot of people that rushed over there to be like, hey, let me check this out. There was nothing there for them other than feeling like a shittier, watered down version of Twitter with the Instagram algorithm.
And you know what really rubbed me the wrong way, and I know that a lot of people in crypto Twitter also felt the same thing, is that they insisted on tying that identity to your Facebook, Instagram identity. And I don't know about you, Gift, but I am a multifaceted individual, and I like to compartmentalize my life. And I have multiple avatars in social media, and I do not want a social media platform dictating how I'm going to represent myself. You know, it's like fucking LinkedIn. You know, like, no, like like my crypto Twitter persona is separate and different and distinct from my Instagram persona, right? And if they might have allowed people a little more freedom in that regard, I think you might have seen a little more activity. That's just my 2 cents. Like, just they don't mix well. You know, it's like oil and water. Sorry, bro.
It's an interesting take. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people maybe not liking that sort of crypto Twitter persona, whatever, to mix that with their Instagram one. Maybe that's an issue within our community as well. Q, you're looking a little bit fuzzy for me, my guy. Just a heads up.
Thank you, sir. I will adjust that really quick while we get into the next piece of news. Okay, so the biggest piece that came up overnight was going to be Utes and DeGods. Really quick,
Oh, God, yeah.
we can jump into both of those announcements. So this was the announcement we got first, 6:30, 3 Eastern. Utes will be migrating to Ethereum. That was paired with another announcement about DeGods Season 3. We got previews as well as a breakdown. So that was, you know, obviously the biggest piece over the last 24 hours. We can break this down, a ton of different complex things that we want to get to. Simply put, though, what did this do for you? Because the answer, everything was being anticipated. Frank was building it up, and we had these announcements. Good, bad, which way are you guys leaning?
Well, for me, I'm not part of the DeGods community, and so I can't speak, personally in that regard. One thing that we did discuss yesterday before, talk before this whole thing launched, it was how many times like Frank kind of like added that caveat, right, about like having the ability to screw up and make it right and make it better. And to me, it having now seen the announcement and what it's about, it almost feels like he might have anticipated a lukewarm reception to this new proposal, right? And I think that's what we're seeing on crypto Twitter, right? Because it's not, people aren't exactly defined on how they feel about it just yet. And he even said it, he's like, this is a launch unlike any other, like it's going to take time to grow on you. I personally, I mean, I wasn't too wowed by it or the art. I like the other more gory DeGods myself. I feel like that was their signature look, right? That was like their calling card, and so now they're trying to get cleaned up. I do appreciate that they try to incorporate or include the fair sex in this particular case, but I don't know, like there's only so, as much as you can do a caveat and say, hey, we have the right to screw up and pivot, and 100%, I agree with that, but you can't lean on that as a crutch forever. At some point,
Yeah.
like, the music will stop and you will either have to fucking sink or swim, perform or fucking die. And it almost feels like this is still a little bit like treading water for them, and man, my God, hats off. Like, his capacity to handle social media and his announcements and do the caveats and all that. I mean, nobody does it better than him, right? But for somebody that's not a holder, that's just been watching from the sidelines and trying to learn as much as possible, does feel a little bit like, okay, this is starting to repetitive. And
Yeah.
personally, yeah, I'm glad this is not something that I'm going to have to suffer through. Let's just put it that way.
And the memes were running rampant. I mean, when the migration memes with Utes, the fact that now this is the second time in a single calendar year that the Utes are going to be migrating to another chain. I know, GIF, you were talking about that roundabout, that there's going to be more and more chains that are going to be added to this. So the memes galore. I did put a poll there in chat for y'all to take a look at if you want to answer. Was the Utes and DeGods announcement successful to you? And then if you haven't heard much about it, we're about to kind of break it down. I guess the first one we can cover is the more straightforward one. I think the Utes is like more kind of, it's more of like an ephemeral conversation. It's like, is leaving Polygon good? What happens to Polygon now? This is more like the details on the actual PFPs, because that was kind of under wraps for a little bit. He gave us a little bit of a tease saying this is not going to be dilutive. So we'll jump into it now. We're going to look at some of these previews as well. So this was the situation. You had one PFP and a change to what could be 4 different assets. So you see that the Biggie was mentioning there is now a female option. There is also an option to not do anything, by the way. Like, their holders could potentially not do anything with their DeGods, but you can see there's an art refresh here, 4 generations.
I think that was the Dead Gods, right? It went Dead Gods, and now it's season 3. I guess Dead Gods was season 2.
Yes. So we're getting rid of traits you don't like. So there were some traits here that they're potentially like removing from the collection. The addition of the female collection as well, or assets in that collection. Tried everything. It looks like there's like a homage to what they were looking at with these new art pieces, new traits, clean line work, minimalist shading, dark color palette. As well as a couple other things that we can look at in these replies. Anything stand out to you right away? I guess the first thing that we're looking at again is it's not dilutive, right? So this wasn't like going to hurt essentially from a supply standpoint. But what stands out to y'all the most from this DeGods announcement?
Well, there's a very clear sort of brand strategy being played out here with the expressions and the updates, and they're going for elegant luxury, which, that's smart, probably, to keep the price point where it is, keep it high, make it aspirational in some way. It's funny. One of the things that has come out of that show Succession is this sort of obsession with this very like muted, low key fashion. It's like rich fashion is just like basic colors, like flat colors. And they're basically doing that, right? They're going muted, flat colors, and that's luxury, a lot of like browns and blacks and shit like that. So that kind of stands out to me. And I do think it's good, at least, that they have a very clear vision for where the brand is going. Which again is more this like luxury, high-end collectible PFP. I do like that it's not dilutive. Yeah, I think it's cool, I guess, that they have the option to change it into a DeGods, to sex change, basically. Gender swap if they want. I'm curious if you can swap back. I mean, that's an interesting question. I assume that you can, but I don't know. Would love to know that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else beyond that. But I overall, I think that long term this does help them, right? Like I think the fact that they're cleaning it up, they're making it cleaner lines, solving some of the maybe smaller issues, quote unquote issues or concerns that they had from a brand perspective on some of the traits, or getting rid of things that maybe didn't fit in with the vision for the brand. I'm sure that some people won't love it right now, or some people have different concerns, like Biggie liked the gore and stuff. But I do think long term, it's probably going to set them up to go further.
And for me, it's like, it was really impressive or interesting to see how they handled the whole rollout and the announcement of this, right? Because in essence, it's a feature, right? It's not a drop, but they didn't really let anybody define what it was. Like most people were thinking about it in terms of a drop, and it was I think very smart of Frank to not correct them. Let them think, let their imaginations run wild, let them think what they will, let the hype and the whole social media thing bubble it up to the surface, put it in your face. And then because most projects, I think, would have just come out and said, oh, this is going to be an art refresh, this is going to be a new feature that you'll be able to upgrade your PFP with, right? And he did none of that. He let everybody kind of just run with their theories, do their whole speculation thing. He just prefaced it with, it's going to be very different from what you're used to. It's going to be non-dilutive. And then, boom, here we are talking about it, and the whole crypto space as well. I mean, man, there's a lot you can learn from the guy for sure.
Yeah. The one thing that stands out to me as the biggest knock or concern is, and again, I'm not a big guy either, so I'm like Biggie, so we're just kind of commenting from the outside. Yeah. It would be great to get a little bit more insight into how the community's feeling. But if I was a holder and I had invested a lot of time, energy, and or resources, buying these expensive assets, and then you told me it's going to cost me almost $1,000 to participate in this upgrade, I'd be kind of shook. I'd be a little bit upset. Obviously, again, like they need to have revenue to be a business. They need to keep it as a sort of exclusive high-end luxury thing, but that still feels a little bit extractive to be asking that from people right now, when you could do it for a couple $100 maybe. You know what I mean? Like $200, $300. That's still pretty expensive at that point. Even a lot of people may not be able to afford that, but it's better than because they say it's like $750, but you have to pay in dust, so there's fees to like bridge and like everything too. So it's probably going to be $800 to $900 at the end of like the process.
Yeah, the early holders are going to be, I think, okay with that. I was in the Lucky Trader space this morning as well. I like some of the takes that they come up with. And, I was an ape that got the ape coin drop, and they did a bunch of different spending syncs right after getting the drop, like smartly, right? They had a merch drop. They had that in other deeds as well. And people spent ape because they essentially viewed it as free, right? So I think the people that are long-term holders will be okay spending that amount of dust. The people that bought a DeGods and don't have the dust, they're kind of sitting there like, wow, I got to spend $1,000 to update this. That is interesting.
And it's a different mechanism for like a slow rollout, right? Because at the same time, like not all of them are going to be upgraded or changed or refreshed, right? It'll be interesting to see also how it plays out, like the different generations of this artwork, because this is the second time they offer this art refresh, right? And I'm a little bit like, wow, like, okay, I don't know what their plans are, right? Like, are they going to continue doing this? Because at some point I feel like you kind of have to stake your claim on what your brand is or what your look is, right? Like Steamboat Willie was like eventually turned into Mickey Mouse, but there's it's Mickey Mouse, it's like a very particular look, right? And I don't think they deviated too hard between, you can still tell that it's like the DeGods, but keep doing it enough You might
Yeah.
fucking like ruffle some feathers, right? Like, so I don't know. Let's see how the community feels about it. You know, like if it turns into something where having like the latest, more upgraded artwork for a DeGod fetches a higher price, or it's a little more desirable and pushes the price of dust
Yeah.
up. Like you said, it can either rub some people the wrong way, or at the same time end up being a wild success. I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Biggie's always one to like think about how the game theory plays out, right? What collection is left?
Yeah.
How much is here? How much gets moved? All that stuff. I love that aspect. I am going to look at the dust token and see its reaction to this announcement as well. So I'm going to try to pull that up. The DeGods floor. I mean, we were kind of predicting this. This is you don't have to be a genius to predict a lot of this stuff. Everybody's kind of selling post announcement. Yeah, selling the news. Unless it's something that just completely blows the top off the space, you're going to see something like this, right? So apparently there was a lot of leverage as well in the DeGods ecosystem around this project or this new season. So what you saw was a floor price of around 9.3 as the reveal was happening or the day of, and we are sitting at a floor price of about 7.67 right now here on Blur. So yeah, not the most positive reaction, but I think it's not something that we didn't predict. Even if it was, kind of standard release, no problems, you were going to see a little bit of a dip. The updated traits kind of stood out to me. Like there was an argument to be made in the morning show about how NFTs. I don't want my NFT traits to change in the collection. Like I don't want somebody to say, hey, like we're removing this from the collection. I know it's a choice for DeGods, but I think it leads to discussions around punks and apes and NFTs that have metadata frozen as opposed to something that can be upgraded over time. That just stood out for me where they're saying, hey, we're going to remove traits. Because I do think like even in the ape community, definitely Oniforce, I mentioned a couple there that I don't like the trait. Like Oniforce has a lot of really cool traits, and then some where you're like, this is kind of just the meta of the day to have like bubblegum and all of this stuff in Oniforce. It's kind of weird because you're kind of thinking about building out your IP and the storyline and all this stuff, and you have a Oni that is just constantly blowing a bubble. It's just weird to me, and that comes from somebody who owned an ape that had a bubble gum as well. So I don't know. Any last takes here on DeGods? We can move into Utes, fellas.
Yeah, the traits issue can also come back and bite them in the ass, like you said, Q. Especially, like as much as people like to mention the blur thing and how it's kind of wrecked people in regards to trade, I still see, especially in the more prominent collections, people seeking out particular traits and buying based on them, right? And if you switch it up on them where all of a sudden a particular trade is no longer as sought after, right? It can rub them the wrong way. So yeah, let's see how that game theory goes.
Yeah, I do think the game theory of like, what's going to be in the final collection and even across the different chains, Q, you said they're becoming the most infamous collection in all of NFTs now because they've established and moved their communities across Solana, Polygon, and now Ethereum. And how does that affect, the community over the long term versus also having maybe small subsets of these assets still living on those chains that never move across. It will be interesting to see the migration of Utes to Ethereum. So maybe this is a good segue to talking about that. Because
the traveling caravan.
Yeah, the traveling caravan of the Utes. Expecting them to migrate again in the same year for the second time. When they did this from Solana, they incentivized it in different ways, and they even disincentivized people from staying on Solana with like additional taxes. So I'm guessing that they'll do some kind of similar program where they, give some kind of offers to have you migrate within a certain time period, different benefits to being early, and then also maybe some disincentives for staying on Polygon. But yeah, what does that look like for a collection when maybe there's some people that are stalwart to a specific chain or think that it'll be more valuable to have one of the only Polygon Utes that exists at some point? Is that more valuable? Who knows? Definitely you could see that being some kind of interesting collector piece a couple years down the line. If there's only like 100 Utes on Polygon, maybe that's pretty cool.
I want to lay some foundation for those folks that are.
I would call
essentially
those stragglers. Just by the way,
they've lost their way.
They lost their way.
Quickly fill the people at home in, and I mean quickly. I want to lay a basic foundation. DeGods launches on Solana. Utes launches on Solana. Both move to different chains. So DeGods moves to Ethereum. Utes gets a grant of $3 million to move to Polygon. They are now returning that money. They're saying, hey, we're actually moving away from Polygon and now are bridging to Ethereum. So that's kind of the route that they're taking. In the meantime, to GIF's, I know GIF, you were quoting me there on the morning show, like they've now become probably the most infamous project in Web3 because there's large communities in Solana and Polygon that now know DeGods more so than they know other Ethereum projects. Because again, they were the biggest project on Solana and then Polygon. And now we're going back to ETH.
Yeah, there's ups and downs to taking the strategy, but Biggie jokingly called it a caravan. But that's part of what happens when you have a caravan is you're touching all these different locations as you go along the ride. You're leaving behind some remnants or making some impressions, maybe making some new friends. So this Utes caravan is definitely, making its way across Web3, across the various ecosystems. And, that's part of the joke, right? Is like, what's season 4 and season 5? And, do they end up at McDonald's or on FTX at the end of the day? Some of the memes have been.
Well, that's the thing, right? You have to be careful that you don't become the circus, right? That you don't become like this little, where are you going to now, right? Like like a gypsy traveling caravan. Exactly. I don't know. I jumped into the K Money spaces last night to find out what was going on and everything, and I really found it a little bit humorous. Maybe it was the moment I jumped on or whatever, but a couple of youths jumped on and started not berating, but kind of laying on some of the Polygon founders, that saying that that they didn't do enough to welcome or incentivize participation within their ecosystem, which I found fucking laughable, right? Like, these developers of a fucking protocol that have to deal with DeFi and everything else are supposed to take time out of their day to pump your fucking bags. You are the social network. You are the one that's coming into a new ecosystem. You're the one that's supposed to do the work and make yourself known and grow, right? Like you said, there are large communities in Polygon. I almost,
that's why they paid them $3 million.
Where I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? Like, there's Avigacci, there's Alpha, now there's Pluto. There's a whole bunch of
clearly
different thriving ecosystems.
Clearly not enough.
To try to put the blame on devs, I just found a little bit hilarious and not a good look.
Hey, I did miss one piece on the DeGods. We're not going to go back, but Points Parlor announcements are coming later today. So they're going to introduce some like gaming incentives. And I say gaming, I think it's like just incentives to earn Parlor points that are going to be like involved in that ecosystem. But let's continue
for staking. Yeah, it's like staking, gamified staking, and different rewards, which does look interesting. I think that's probably one of the cooler things too, as a holder, of actually getting some value added. But yeah, I mean, to give that argument, Biggie, just to play like devil's advocate, right? I mean, you could say, okay, the devs could have continued to do what they're doing, or, some more biz dev and like adding in more to make it more exciting and finding some other synergies. Maybe that's true. But to your point, that's why you buy an IP or, pay $3 million to bring in the community, is because you're expecting them to start to be building there and be doing that work. That's why you give them the money. I think there's the fact that they're giving it back to leave, though. is kind of an indictment, right? And to Q's point, there clearly wasn't enough going on there, or the rationale for them to leave was strong enough that they were willing to sacrifice that $3 million payout and give it all back. So
I
think they were. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I saw a context, just to add context to this conversation, I saw a tweet that was mentioning the timeline of DeGods and Utes, in that they were dealing with the fallout of FTX. And so they were in kind of dire straits for a little while. They got the $3 million from Polygon to potentially increase runway. Then there was a Bitcoin ordinal sale that was $5 million in total. This happened after they took the money from Polygon. So there is a potential conspiracy theory or theory that's out there that says, hey, once the Bitcoin ordinal sale happened, maybe they didn't see the need or the need to have that money anymore. And hey, we don't need this to survive.
Sure, but like, to give it all back and sacrifice it is still a big decision, right? So like you're paying back $3 million. Like that's a lot of money. And so
but that's an opportunity cost that is a loss for Polygon, right? Because it's almost a year without those $3 million that they could have used with another community or something else. I mean, look, I think it's a very cut and dry reason why they're leaving Polygon and going to Ethereum, and it's because liquidity is in Ethereum. That's where the money's at, and I think they mistakenly thought that just because that they were the DeGods Utes or whatever, they were just gonna arrive in fucking Polygon City and they would be hailed as like the new and cool kid on the block, and everybody was gonna love them, and they were gonna generate a whole bunch of money with trading fees. Lo and behold, not the fucking case, son. And you know what the problem is? Like, I think we're doing it right now, right? With Base. It's like, after a while, like you just start being a lot more cautious and where you like to speculate, and bridge your assets to, right? It's one thing, and I think that's one thing Coinbase is doing really well, is that like they're incentivizing you to come and mint these NFTs by prominent figures, promoted by people like Cosmo de Medici, but they're low cost. It's a lot less friction. When you're looking at an asset that is worth several grand, you can't expect the same treatment, and you can't expect to just arrive at a whole new ecosystem and be hailed and regaled as like some fucking savior, some messiah, right? And I think they it was a mess up in their part, and now they're trying to fix it. And I think it's very clear why they want to go back to Ethereum. They want to go to Ethereum is because that's where the action is.
Yeah. And Polygon's doing some great things. Like, we look at the Polygon charts a bunch. DraftKings has been doing phenomenally, by the way. If you look at the volume and transactions there, DraftKings is doing awesome. The issue here becomes what happens to the PFP outlook for Polygon. Do they even care? I would love to hear Sandeep, who's the co-founder and the guy over there at Polygon. Like, do they care about having a PFP kind of community? Like, they clearly cared at one point. They gave them $3 million to try to come and bootstrap that ecosystem, but it didn't work.
It didn't work. And we talk a lot about how chains maybe need to specialize a little bit more and lean into strengths instead of trying to be the everything chain all the time. Polygon clearly is doing pretty well with these custodial Web 2.5 brand platforms, or things like DraftKings and gaming, Aavegotchi, maybe some games over there. But yeah, maybe it's not the art market. Maybe it's not the PFP market, and again, I think Solana made the same kind of mistake, trying to really be competitive with Ethereum for the art market. Maybe, I know that there's Solana people out there that are going to say, no, art on Solana is still great, but like, I'm not going there to buy any art. Like, maybe I'll go to Tezos. Maybe I'll even go to Arbitrum, which is still ETH based now, for a little bit of that. But like, I'm not speculating on Solana art or PFPs. I'm just not. And again, I know that there's a few cool projects, like Claynosaurs is actually, I think, pretty legit. And there's one or two, like, was it Mad Lads? There's a couple that have come up that seem to be pretty cool. But just in general, I don't know that Solana or Polygon or some of these other chains are going to be able to compete with Ethereum for collectible art, for PFPs, for that market. It just seems like that's where the liquidity is and the collectors are.
And we know how hard it is to dislodge like first mover advantage, right? Whether we're talking about threads versus Twitter, you know, Ethereum does have that advantage when it comes to, you know, a premier blue chip, if you guys want to call it, like PFP projects, right? Which DeGods is, and so to have gone to Polygon was not the best move, and now they're trying to rectify it. My only concern is that this is not like an ongoing thing, because then you will turn into the circus, and you know, it'll be good for the lulls, but not much more.
All right, I want to get to some comments here in chat talking about this. Squashman saying I could have sworn the announcement for DeGods said over time the cost goes down for the Switch. I think you're correct on that. Marty McFly saying who's buying the cringe ape underwear gift? Tropo is a goon. I got no love for him. Friday saying I mean quickly, says the guy that has a quick news section of the show that lasted an hour and a half every day. Listen, this is the Web3 space, man. Things get a little nutty. I did just close that poll. Was DeGods and Utes a successful announcement? 66% of y'all said no. If you are joining us here on Twitter and Twitch, we appreciate y'all. Also on YouTube, of course, if you're here live, we appreciate y'all getting after it in the chat. If you're here afterwards, I've been seeing some great comments come through for those people who can't catch us live here every day. So thank you guys so much. I don't even really want to pull this up. Do we have like, because I didn't realize there was an actual banana on the Made by Apes briefs. Do we have any last
Thirst Trap Thursday, Q?
DeGods
get weird.
I will say overall, I don't think it's the best announcement. I think some of it, you kind of live by the sword, die by the sword with what Frank likes to do, which is build hype through not releasing any details. So I think like he built like this pressure kind of built up so much that you probably have a letdown from a lot of folks. But overall, I think they made some of the switches they needed to make. And that means, you know, bringing Utes into the community, like it's bringing Utes onto Ethereum and actually in to that DeGods ecosystem, instead of feeling like some type of like split where they're not going to be able to service both communities. So I think overall, I lean positive on this. It's not the craziest thing, but I lean positive.
I do too. And I think maybe the most interesting thing that I'm going to be watching is what happens with Utes, because when it would have been an opportunity, which again, one of those things that we didn't buy our own alpha, but we were talking about, there's a good chance that when this moves, you know, chains, that it has a run up, and it did. There's a chance that Utes has a run up, or it might dip or something. There's probably going to be some volatility around this move as well. And I think long term, it's probably bullish that it's on Ethereum. So who knows? I don't have enough liquidity to buy a Ute right now, I don't think, but I'm going to be watching it. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we can go to the activity here on OpenSea. I think OpenSea supports.
Now, given what has happened up to now, Give, I'm very curious. What would you rather get, a Pudgy or a Ute, or two Utes? Apparently, you could get two Utes or one Pudgy. What founder,
that is a good question.
Would you like to follow? I'll tell you right off the bat, it's a Pudgy for me, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because we talk a lot about the impact that the founders have on these projects. It seems like both Pudgies and Utes, DeGods, have really sort of prolific, influential founders at the helms that are super, super engaged on Twitter, really, really good at zeeting and doing what they do. But how much of those projects is dependent upon one person is definitely something that I'm concerned with. I feel like Utes DeGods is more dependent on Frank right now than Pudgy is on Luca. And so that makes me feel a little bit safer with Pudgy, probably. It feels much simpler and straightforward too, like what they're doing. Obviously, DeGods, Utes, their whole ecosystem is pretty complicated. So there's a lot, again, that chasm of complexity becomes a challenge to get new people in. It becomes harder to keep up with all of it, keep the hype across everything. It seems like people stumble whenever they start to get too complicated and try out a lot of like too many crazy utilities. It seems like there's just more things that can kind of trip you up, more sticks to, get stuck in your wheels as you're trying to move forward. So I'd probably hedge towards Pudgies, but I am pretty interested in Utes as well.
And not only that, but with the Utes, you'd be technically a second-class citizen in the DeGods ecosystem, right?
Whoa.
Or
Fair point.
it's
Fair
true.
point.
Like, I don't
Mutants
you
are
know.
they're gonna be rising here. Mutant apes are gonna be rising.
Everybody,
all
hey, settle down, settle down. All the mutants know where you stand. They all know. They all know it. There's no mutants out there thinking that they're more important than the OGs. I'm sorry, that's just not a real thing.
Squash is saying Pudgy's has a wider potential target audience. Cute Pudgy over a DeGod or a Ute for sure. Even as a founder, Luca is more likable and less controversial than Frank. That has broader appeal overall, in my opinion. I mean, you're looking at the you know, you always have to account for the price of these things you're talking about. If you want to get into Pudgies, you want to get into Utes. I would buy a Pudgy over a DeGod for sure. I think overall, the Utes though sitting at what like 1 point, what do we say, 1.3, 1.4? I don't know, man. Like that, it feels like, yeah. Again, like DeGods, I would definitely get a Pudgy before that. Not just because of the price. I think even if they were similar prices, I would get a Pudgy and agree with it, because I agree with y'all's takes overall. Across the board there about Pudgies, but Utes at 1.3 or 1.4, I think I would buy 2 or 3 Utes before I get a Pudgy.
I will say this though, I think that anchoring and clearly defining the vision for DeGods as being this high-end luxury PFP, it definitely is smart in terms of maintaining that aspirational high-end collector and art buyer. Because, you know, to me, they're positioning themselves to be one of the few PFPs that the same people that buy a CryptoPunk and a Ringer and a Fidenza, that they are going to be interested in collecting. Which means that the ceiling for a floor price on a DeGod, I think, just went up.
All right, I'm putting out a poll real quick for the chat. 3 Utes or 1 Pudgy. I think that's how it works out to. On Pudgy's being at, let me make sure that's the right one. Yeah, Pudgy's being at 4.09. It's about the similar. So I'm going to roll out that poll, see what y'all think about that, and we will continue to move on through the episode. We're here for about another 20 minutes. Squash is also saying Pudgy over DeGod, Ute over the little Pudgy, and Prodigy saying Yuga over everything. We had a season 2 finish on heavy metals today, so people are figuring out what amps they are getting. It also is leading us to a season 3 upgrade. So there's some updates that happen at the end of each season. We'll see what Yuga decides to do there. Nothing, you know, super crazy as expected, but maybe that's a good time to launch something or update something pretty special there. Otherwise, at the end of season 3, one, from a user standpoint, you need to have energy and these portals open so that you can participate in the raid. So at the end of season 3, everyone's kind of been fudding heavy metals for the past week or two, saying, you know, I'm just burnt out at this point. We get a raid at the end of season 3. So that's what everyone's looking forward to for the update on heavy metal there, folks. I'm going to look one more time at this blur chart here to kind of look at floor prices, because Oni's getting absolutely eviscerated as well. I wanted to touch on Milady's 56% up over the last 7 days. I have a theory here that, you know, DeGods is getting rotated out of. I think DeGods is getting hit pretty hard. Most people are selling the news there. And, you know, Milady's is up 24% even on the day. I think a little bit more here in the last 24 hours. So, I mean, why Milady's is pumping? People have all these like cabal theories, and, you know, they're getting pumped by people.
I'm just going to say,
whales.
like,
I think it's liquidity moving from DeGods to Milady.
Milady's is like the Epstein PFP to me. You know, I want nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Period. I do not understand. I've had it. Many people attempt to explain to me why it's a worthwhile community, why the art supposedly slaps. I don't get it. Please, like, seriously, I need to unmask these motherfuckers like Scooby-Doo. They're all fucking Epsteins. I said it.
I mean, yeah. I wanted to throw that out right in the beginning, Biggie, because it could be as simple as liquidity moving from one hyped project to now people see Milady's increasing in price, all this stuff. It could be as simple as that. But really, when you get a collection like this and you ask why is this pumping, it's tough to even have the combo because it's like major whales dumping on followers.
Yeah. We know that not everything in the space makes sense or is meant to make sense by any sort of like normal logic or rationale.
I mean, fuck. Come on.
This is not about normal logic or rationale. This is about whale games. This is about, quote unquote cabals. It is groups of influencers who are trying to turn this into something big, and it's working, right? Even Elon Musk freaking tweeted about it. So he's clearly somehow looped in on whatever this inside joke is. But it is a meme. It is irony. It's not like people will say to your face, "Oh, it's the dopest art," but that's the joke. You're supposed to like nod and be like, "Yeah, I know, right?" It's irony. It's irony at its finest, and it's again, it's a certain group of people that have decided that this is the thing, that this is the meme for them, and that it's like, yeah, like we've been joking about this like NFT Illuminati shit, but there's absolutely groups of like influencers and like money and like whales and deep walleted degens out there that are all, playing these games together. And that's what I think it is. I just think that this is a game that a lot of people have decided to play together. And a lot of times that's what culture is in this space. That's how culture starts. And I don't know, man. That's it. Like,
one feature of a collection that we bring up a lot on this show is percent of unique ownership, right? To kind of dictate, hey, how many whales are in this ecosystem and how healthy is something like that. So I'm going to pull this up really quick. DeGods sitting at 27%. That's not great. Something like a Bored Ape has 57%.
No, I'm glad you brought that up. One of my biggest concerns with using DeGods from the jump has been that across both collections, they have below 30% unique wallet holders. And they're both very large, collectible projects. Those are not great unique holder numbers. It's not. And so, yeah, what does that mean long term? Does that ever actually fix itself? I don't know. But it's always been a concern. And Quantum Variant's kind of confirming what I'm saying about Milady's. He's just saying that it's the same people behind a lot of the shitcoin pumps. It's a bunch of crypto boys, crypto bros.
It's as simple as that sometimes. It is as simple as that. So I'm going to look at their unique ownership really quick to see if we can gain anything from it. So 37%. It's higher than something like DeGods by 10%. They're still not as high as you want to see. Like most of the time when we're looking at some of these larger, more well-known collections, it's over 50. So like even something like a Doodles has 56. I think Moonbirds, we brought up on the channel multiple times, has like the highest unique ownership of these large blue chips, which is 63%. Bored Ape again is sitting at 57. So yeah, that one's tough. It's tough to get involved in a project that has a unique ownership under 30%, in my opinion. Like that's definitely not the thing. Like I'm not going to completely write them off, but it's all kind of part of an equation and a formula there. Of risk reward at that point.
And you can watch that trending over the course of days or weeks too. And if it's trending upwards, it's like, okay, good, that's healthy. But a lot of times it's not, or it's going down, which means that there's even more consolidation within just a few people's wallets. So anyway.
Listen, we've been in the space a long enough time where we know like what is going on with Milady's, right? Like there's nothing really that's happening on like the fundamental side front, and you get a whole bunch of liquidity. Again, I think some of it is just liquidity moving around, people chasing the next big thing. This is Oni Force, by the way.
This is wild, man.
Oni's been getting absolutely wrecked for a multitude of reasons. We like Oni. I think Starlordy is doing a good job kind of releasing different products for Oni. I think they released the community points and things like this, but down to 0.69 nice floor here. You can see the volume's absolutely wild. I would love like a history of unique ownership. That would be a great stat for something like a Blur NFT Go to see where this is moving to. Is it moving from an area where whales are accumulating, or are whales kind of dumping in A lot of times they're dumping into other whales, so it's
isn't that the depth chart right there?
That is the depth chart, but these can be spoofed. Like depth charts can be, order books can be spoofed, basically.
Oh, that's right. That's the order book, not the. Sorry, yeah, you're right. So history of unique owners would be good. I agree.
Yeah, long term still bullish on Oni. Like that's the reason I'm buying. I think my last purchase was around 0.8, so I'll be buying more Onis likely. Again, this is not financial advice, but I'll be stacking Onis around these prices. I'm gonna watch to see where this ends up though, because I don't want to be buying falling knives. But any takes there, GIF? Onis falling to 0.69.
Bro, I would be buying these like hotcakes right now. I think it's crazy. Obviously, again, like we've already said, this is not financial advice. We're not financial advisors. But from what I know about Oni, what I believe about Oni, the team that they're working with, the things that they're working on, the provenance of that project is the original left-facing PFP, the original anime PFP, the quality of the art that's actually unique and memorable. The fact that there's only 7,777 not diluted at all. Like there's so many things behind this project that like I would be buying these like hotcakes at this price. I was buying them at 1.4 just recently. You know what I mean? Because that's how much I fucking believe in them. So yeah, for me, this is like a no brainer. I think I don't understand why. Yeah. Like this is where the logic just doesn't make any sense.
Sentiment.
In this, yeah, in this whole space, sometimes it makes no sense because like Milady's is pumping and Oni Force is just.
I will say over time it makes sense, or it makes more sense. If you look at it on short time frames, it doesn't. A lot of times you're like, what the hell is going on? Over a year's period, things tend to look a little bit more clear.
Yeah. So, but yeah, me personally, I'd be buying the heck out of these right now.
Not going to spend too much more time. Biggie, jump in whenever as well. I've got, again, we touched on Oni Force being probably the biggest loser on the day, to be honest. DeGods being there as well. Let's see. There were a couple of ones that pumped. So Heavy Metals pumped off of season 3, I guess, launch. Like they're up 10% on the day. I don't know exactly what's happening there. Let's see. There were a couple. Velocity is a collection that's pumped pretty heavily, as well as Super Cool World, I believe. I want to make sure I'm getting that right before I get it. So Velocity series, Super Cool World up 40% or 26% and 40% respectively. Those are collections we haven't touched on, but that are doing well broader on the price scale at least.
I'm curious, Quantum Variant, you said you met some of the Miladies, their big DeFi group, a bunch of rich crypto boys. Does that make you want one? Like, would you want a Milady? Are you buying into that if you have the liquidity? Like, I'm curious, what is your take on that as sort of like, is that a good enough reason for you to be, buying a 3 or 4 ETH asset and wanting to join in on that project?
Yes.
Your thoughts?
I will say if you can get access to, this is why certain social tokens popped off. This is why the other NFT projects popped off, because they essentially asked us access to people that were moving markets, essentially. So I would say yes in that sense. Big, you got anything?
I mean, I don't know. I own a couple of NFTs that give me access to particular like DeFi groups, and they're literally just like they're the alpha groups that are fantastic. And I have seen a couple of Milady's people lurking about in those groups, but again, I'm not cool with that project at all because of its checkered past. I do think that sometimes the colors you wear or the things that you decide to promote or put on or do kind of define you. I don't want to touch that shit. And I definitely have. I've never heard of them prominently be like touted as like DeFi savants, right? Or like, wow, like man, these guys are shot callers, like other DeFi NFT communities that I've been a part of. So yeah, it's definitely not enough for me to entice me whatsoever. Quite the opposite. I'm just, it's just one of those collections that whenever I see it, I kind of nod.
Well,
It's like, wow.
Quantum's agreeing with you. He says, I don't want to play in their sandbox. It just makes me feel kind of dirty.
Yeah,
Squashman saying that the DeGods crypto bros are better than the Milady crypto bros. All right.
100%.
So
Yeah.
there you go. Marty also asking, I can't tell, is Prodigy serious with all of the Yuga comments or not? Great
Serious.
question. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think
No,
Prodigy knows, frankly.
he's being
It could be
serious.
the biggest Yuga whale.
All right, I'm sorry for what I have on the screen. The story is Made by Apes is rolling out again. The products are being shown, they're being proliferated, and this is apparently Bored Ape boxer briefs.
Yeah, that's a solid banana hammock right there. I love it. I'm all about it. Am I going to actually buy it? Probably not. But I still support.
Would.
I support it.
My friend, back in the day when Biggie was a little bit younger, a little more crazy, he would totally bought those things and went out to Vegas for a weekend and just had a lot of fun.
With those Brazilian pickup.
Oh my God, are you kidding me, man? Talk
Like
about a conversation starter, a laugh breaker outer. That's they look fun, man.
You should see my banana hammock. That's a great opening line. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on. We're not doing a Yuga show today, unfortunately, but we do have a Larva Lab show update here. Maybe we start to do that a little bit more because Fingerprints DAO is partnering with Larva, the creators of CryptoPunks and Autoglyphs, on the Voxelglyphs. Attainable with prints, Voxelglyphs will represent DAO membership in NFT form. Gif, if you have any links to these stories as well for the Larva Labs Voxelglyphs, let me know because I know you're covering it on the GM show. Okay,
this is the main one I've seen.
I'd love to dive in as well here. Fingerprints DAO is a relatively well-known art collective there. I believe they have like a treasury of different, really well-known art pieces as well.
That loot. They got that.
Oh my God, don't bring it up. But this is interesting, man. I mean, Larva Labs coming back. They've been kind of silent since their sale of CryptoPunks about a year ago now. I don't know the exact date, but it's good to see. Those guys are awesome. They have the right mindset for this space, which is they just want to be here doing cool things with the tech. So I'm always going to be interested in anything Larva Labs does. They're goated for me. But I do want to jump into some details if we have it. Voxelglyphs, I'll try to jump in if you guys have anything, especially Marty. I know you're a big Larva Labs fan there with your CryptoPunk. Let us know.
I mean, the gist that I got from what's out there, like on that tweet, is that they're issuing some kind of new generative art NFT that'll be an access pass to the DAO. So we were just talking about, NFTs is basically alpha group access passes. This will be a DAO pass, but I assume that besides the utility of being part of the DAO, the art itself will be interesting to a lot of people because it's Larva Labs. And then the Prince token is this brand new?
It looks like it's been around. Like it looks like the contract has been around since September 2021, but maybe that's just maybe March 2023 is probably a more accurate date. So if we look closer on the year, it looks like 2023 March, Fingerprints DAO potentially launched this Prince token, but it is up 66% on the back of the news that it's going to be used as payment for this access token.
Who knows?
I mean,
maybe that's a play.
This definitely hits all the right notes to me. You've got a prominent duo of dev/artists producing, the NFT, which I'm sure is going to be very, very much sought after. At the same time, it provides access to a community, a well-regarded community within the NFT space that's highly educated and involved in growing and evolving the space. I mean, to me, when looking at an NFT, that's the type of stuff that I like to look at, right? And it's also got a token attached to it, so it's hitting all the right notes. It's a combination of different value propositions all rolled up into a beautiful piece of art, man. Like, what's not to like? That's what I'm all about. So yeah.
So this is a great breakdown as well. What will happen to Prince? So the Prince token, it looks like they're transitioning from a ERC20 based like membership to a NFT based membership. So you see Prince holders will be able to convert their ERC20s into the Voxelglyph on a proportion of 5K prints to one Voxelglyph. People will with less than 5K prints or odd numbers will always be able to top or sell using the uni pool. So it looks like there's a transition there being made. It looks like Prince was the access. Now the NFT will be the access. But Voxelglyph is a single artwork that will be the same for every holder. It's an addition.
Oh, okay. So they're not unique. I thought they're unique generative art. Okay. I mean, it's cool. It's a little bit less interesting to me than if they were unique one of one long form generative art pieces.
This is a really great. I actually fuck with this a lot because a lot of social token communities could do this, right? That's essentially what's happening. NFT membership was not the standard back when we started Fingerprints. ERC20 plus multi-sig was the norm. So you could see this happening a bunch. And I'm sure it's already happened before where an ERC20 based ecosystem transitions to NFTs. It's dope. Are you paying? So 5,000, what was the token at? That's almost 10 G's. Not sure I'm paying 10 G's for this, but if you're in, good on you.
Not me, sir. But it's still cool. It's a cool application. Cool idea.
All right, we're wrapping up here in the next 10 minutes. Good to see everybody's nice PFPs or nice faces. We got Quantum Variant, Marty McFly, Squash Man. You guys are doing a great job keeping the chat active. Thank you guys. Benja, I see you there as well. Guys, if you see any comments that you'd love to bring up and highlight, let me know. Otherwise, I want to wrap up a little bit with Base and what they're doing. Again, we're in the middle of on-chain summer here, and Parallel has been well received by the community. This is a project that has been around for years. They're like an OG platform there, but their trading card game officially rolled out this month. They've been letting people access the beta, and I've seen the snapshots. I've seen the gameplay for a trading card game. It seems to have captured a lot of positive sentiment. But this base starter deck is potentially going to be something I'm interested in. August 11th, we are excited to announce the Parallel starter decks will be available as one of the first on-chain summer drops on Build on Base. Decks include 40 cards to get started playing and earning Prime with your favorite faction. So Parallel releasing on Base. There's a couple others I want to point out that we've already hit as well. We were touching on that DK Open Edition. But any thoughts on Parallel being the partner here, or just like continued thoughts on Base as we continue? Biggie, hit me with that bridge as well on the Oh, you did. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be tracking it closely. I don't know if I'll be participating in the Parallel. I don't know. It's just I participated originally with the Gods Unchained game, and though I love them, I don't absolutely go bonkers for it. So let's see how it performs. But I'm looking forward for the Friends with Benefit drop, which I think is going to be later on today. I do plan on minting a couple of those projects just to have a little skin in the game, as we've talked about, right? And who knows, maybe I do get a little bit of Parallel. I mean, if they're cheap enough, why not? You never know down the line if, especially after several of these platforms have come up with this mechanism of rewarding like people that have some of their first initial drops, why not? $20. I'll throw $20 in there. Why not?
The Friends with Benefits one might be more up your alley, though. Like, I don't want to push you towards Parallel if you're not going to get involved in the game.
Oh, no. It's my own degen tendencies, man. It's just when I see card games, like I do like playing some of them. It's just there's quite a few out there, and Parallel, I guess, is one that I haven't really participated as much in, and I don't want to say it almost feels like it's taken them a while, right, to launch stuff. So it's kind of like a BYO pills. It's like really cool art, really awesome concept, but when fucking delivery,
Yeah. Well, look, they might be taking a really, really creative approach of being one of the major games on base to start out with. You can see the tweet that I have in front of me. Basically, this moment is kind of having everybody be able to access the game and move out of beta into it going live. Because basically, if you have a starter pack, you can play the game. So this tweet is saying, my hunch, we quickly scale to players in the 10,000 or more this month. The new players will need more cards to build interesting decks like in Hearthstone. So there's just a little bit of some growth hacking there through Web3 gaming. We'll see. Jacob Gooden saying on-chain summers got me minting like Biggie was for open edition season.
Nice.
We got onboarding.
Yeah, love to see that. And that's actually their whole mission statement, is to bring on new people. So anecdotally, maybe it's working. Hey, by the way, smash the like if you haven't already, fam. Help us out with a like. We appreciate it. It doesn't cost you a thing. It means the world to us. It's right down there in the bottom corner. Go ahead and hit that little thumbs up icon for us, please, and thank you. Yeah, this whole situation with Parallel, I do think is interesting, but it's starting to give me this like. I guess I'm a little bit more bullish on Reboot trying to simplify the tokenomics and rewards and stuff, because like, we just talked about prints, and now there's Prime, and they're like every single day we're seeing a million different tokens and protocols, and like they can't all exist, man. And it's overwhelming. It really is. Like, I don't want to have to be bridging or buying like thousands of different assets to exist in these different things. Like, do y'all not get kind of just, yeah,
each ecosystem has their own points, right? Like a game like World of Warcraft has gold, Twitch has their bits,
but hold on, but the whole idea of what Reboot's doing and what, like, let's say a publisher like Epic is doing, is that you solidify under one unique umbrella all of that, so you get economies of scale and make it easier. Why can't Epic Games just have an Epic token across all of their games? It would be dumb for them. Right. So that's what I'm saying, is that at some point, I think that's the thing that makes sense. I'm not particularly bullish on every single game and every single thing having their own token. Yeah. And I'm not saying that like a lot of them won't and it won't do well. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, do y'all not at all get a little bit like every time you see another token, you're kind of like, oh, here's another fucking token that I have to figure out how to get in and out of. And like,
it's a tough balance, because if you can create value, you want to be able to capture that as the people that founded it, right? Like if you could use USDC as the token gate for your Discord or whatever, but your value capture isn't as much as from like a founder's perspective,
right? But some of those publishers / larger what do you call them, aggregator tokens, whatever, they're going to figure out the proper incentive structure so that you capture the majority of that value still, while benefit from being in a larger ecosystem. I think this is what other side's going to do with ApeCoin. I think they're a good example, right? They're going to get a lot of different games and a lot of different projects all using ApeCoin. So then it's a no-brainer. Yes, I will have Ape. Absolutely, I'll have Ape. But like in the list of tokens that I want to be holding, like, I only want to go so deep. I don't want to have the fucking 10,000th market cap token. I don't want to be holding that shit. And I don't want to be having to bridge in and out of it. I don't want to have to worry about getting rugged or liquidity or some shit, some whale. And all that shit comes into play the more that you deal with this. And I don't know. It's just, I'm starting to realize I actually think that Utes moving to Ethereum is another example of this. Even Polygon, didn't have enough liquidity to support their project. You know what I mean? I think we're going to see more of this. Like, competition is good. I agree with that. But he's also saying just buy ETH.
There's just two different conversations you're having. One is a user experience. The other is potential alpha and investing in things like this, right? Because those things are at odds with each other. The more something is usable, the less alpha likely that you're able to find. Like, and I've tried to parrot this over and over again, but if you have something that's super usable as opposed to something that's only held by 100 people and then you introduce it to 1,000, that's where you get the increase in percentage. That's what all of these tokens are. True. You're capturing the value and then you're trying to exit on potential people in the future. So that's what
true.
I'll say. You're having two separate conversations. From a user standpoint, yes, simple, all that stuff. From an investor perspective, you're not. There's no opportunity there. If even ape, for example,
maybe
like,
just less, maybe just a little
it's
bit
a lot
less.
less. It's a
You
lot
don't
less.
you don't get the quick 1000x. You don't get that shit as easy. Yeah, I get that, and you're right. So there's a purpose for it. I'm just saying, at a certain point, man, like everybody having their own token, like.
Yeah. You're right.
And yeah, Prodigy calling me out saying king of shitcoin summer over here saying this. I mean, I don't know if I was the king of shitcoin summer. I feel like that was Poly. But I mean, I believe in Pepe and I believe in Turbo.
Pepe's
I didn't
well.
like most of those others. I don't fuck with. So
all right, folks, we're about to head out here. We covered Utes, DeGods. We covered a little bit of on-chain summer with Base. It feels like that rollout's going well. Like, it feels like
decent.
Their connection with the community is actually there this time, other than Coinbase NFT rollout.
I think they're finding a better product market fit initially early on, and they're doing a better job, to your point. I know that I think before yesterday's official launch, that they had roughly 160 mil bridged, but since yesterday's launch, which is, I think they expected that to be like a bigger moment, there's only been roughly 10 mil. So I think that they felt like the official launch wasn't as big as they had hoped, but overall, from when they kind of like opened it up to devs and other people to get in, it seems like probably getting close to 200 mil bridged so far. So
I want to give a really big shout out to Quantum Variant, who sent me Layer 2 Beat, which is going to be a couple different things to show off here. One, the phenomenon that Biggie's always talking about, which is that over time, the space is up and to the right. You see from 2019 all the way to today, August 10, 2023, the adoption of and the total value locked in Layer 2s has been up and to the right. Now there's going to be different things that happen in the short term, but that's what we see. So this is really cool because you can see all of the total value locked in all the different Layer 2s. Arbitrum being the top, Optimism being next. You see Base is making its way onto this list as well, 160 mil at this point. So big shout out to Quantum Variant. I'll drop that in the chat for y'all to take a look at and bookmark, because this is something to keep in mind, right? You see Immutable. There's a couple others that we mention here on the daily. So awesome.
Yeah, this is a really cool resource. That looks awesome.
Love it. Activity as well. You can see it looks like I'm looking at transactions per second also up and to the right.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, I think you did this with me, right? When we were looking at one of those like A16Z or like state of the industry reports, I believe what it showed was that in like 2022, there was an increase in like total transaction volume on Layer 2s. It bumped up to like 7 or 8% of all transactions were on Layer 2s. And so we were speculating, what do we think it'll be, by next year, right? Same time next year. And I think it was like, we were speculating by like Q1, something like a 2024, something like that. I think I said it would be close to like 20%. Like I would more than double. I still feel pretty strongly about that. I think L2s are going to be a massive part of this next cycle. So yeah, that's my guess. I think we get like by 2024, early to mid 2024, I think roughly all transaction volume will be on L2s. That's my guess.
Sheesh. All right, I love the hot prediction as we end the episode here. Marty McFly saying 2 Utes or 1 Pudgy. We did close out that poll. Most of y'all
I have a squiggle instead.
What would be the name for half a squiggle? A squig? No.
A squig?
Squeak?
A giggle? Yeah.
Hey, guys, we're finishing out the episode, but if you want a more kind of like condensed piece, if you don't want to go through this whole episode, everything that we talk about here today actually makes it on the rehash that we do after these episodes. We post this from the Web3 Twitter. It kind of contains, again, all of the stories that we cover here on NFT Live. If you guys want to do us a favor and support that, it'll come out in the next hour. So just definitely be following Web3. How am I not following Web3? Who is it?
Yeah,
Wow.
what the heck, bro?
Wow.
You're so bad at this.
Wow.
You're the worst.
Damn.
Literally every
What do you
time we look at an interesting Twitter, you're never following.
Gotta keep that list curated. Another great week. We had Ronan the Collector on, a lot of great different stories that varied across the industry, man. Multi-chain here. Shout out to the Utes that are on their long journey home. And this was a great week, fellas. I had another great time with you guys on today's show as well. So I'll take us out, but let's see if you guys have anything to close us out with.
No, man. OVOT. Always love seeing the fam here. And you know what? I'm super pumped now that I found a way to start participating in the chats with y'all. So look forward to that. That's it is me that you're seeing there, that little dead fellas. That's my boy. And yeah. I hope you all have like a great weekend. And that it's full of fun, and make sure you touch some grass and eat healthy, get some sleep. Catch up on anything that you need to do, and we'll see you here next week. See what happens.
Heck yeah. Love seeing that Biggie dead fella over there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I thought you were in the horde. Glad to see it. Yeah. But yeah, our vibe, our tribe, as always, smash the like for this man, Biggie, and his dead fella down there. And we appreciate all y'all for hanging out with us for another amazing week. And we'll be back on Monday. I mean, first and foremost, we'll be putting out a rehash here, like Q said, in an hour or two. Again, please check that out. Give us your feedback. We're really, really trying our best to keep providing quality curated content, make it easier for y'all to get all of these headlines and all the news and make more out of this. And y'all's support means the world. It makes the biggest difference. So please and thank you for all the support on the rehash and for liking the episode. That's it. OVOT.
Yeah, we did see a lot of support from everybody over the last 2 weeks. I would say the community came out on the rehashes, on the comments afterwards. It feels like the episodes are being, watched more on YouTube here afterwards as well. So we want to give a big shout out to everybody that's watching anywhere and anyhow you're checking out NFT Live. So thank you guys again. Yeah. I got some Onis to buy, so I'm about to press live and then or press end stream and then go buy some more Onis. So keep dipping them, man.
Rocket League World Championship is happening day 3 today. It's happening right now, by the way, for any of y'all RLCS fans out there. I'll be watching.
Love it. All right. We got Prodigy, Easy and Crypto, Squashman, Phasia, Space Smells Like, Marty McFly, Quantum Variant, Jacob Good. All you guys have a great weekend. Our vibe, our tribe.